Good afternoon and welcome to Midday Report here on TVP World. I'm your host, Marie Cato. European ministers have met in Copenhagen to discuss security guarantees for Ukraine to ensure that if a ceasefire is brokered with Russia, it lasts. Although there are no formal conclusions yet, one idea floated to support the war-torn country is moving military production from Ukraine to Europe to safeguard it against Russian attacks. We're joined now by our EU correspondent Angela Skujins in the Danish capital, who has been covering these talks. Good afternoon, Angela. So, any breakthroughs?
Good afternoon. Unfortunately, no breakthroughs just yet, but the importance of these talks is paramount. It comes a day after Russia launched a deadly barrage of rockets and drone missile attacks on the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv, wiping out a 5-story residential building, killing at least 23 people, also endangering the peace talk efforts spearheaded by US President Donald Trump. This is exactly why security guarantees are required to strengthen Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy's hand at the negotiating table and to ensure that a ceasefire, if one is brokered, if it's ensured, that it well and truly will last. So while no proposals have been formalised just yet, we have heard from our sources here in Copenhagen speaking to us on condition of anonymity that an idea that has certainly gained steam is moving Ukraine's military production capabilities from the war-torn country into Europe. This is because Russia has been known to attack the facilities and the sites of military production companies, as well as research and development facilities. So we're hoping to hear more about that at that 4 p.m. press conference. But before that meeting kicked off, we also managed to speak to Poland's Secretary of State, Paweł Zelenskyy. He told us about the importance of Poland offering security guarantees and what this could look like, particularly when it comes to supporting Ukraine's military and production capabilities.
We are donating armaments. We are supporting in armaments production. So that is a very new and very important area of cooperation. That is also important for other European countries. So that is the way how Ukraine will guarantee its security for the future.
However, this proposal that I mentioned earlier regarding moving those facilities from Ukraine to Europe isn't a done deal just yet. It is certainly also going to ruffle the feathers of countries such as France, which is a massive defence production heavyweight. We're hoping to hear more later, as well as more commentary from that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy himself with his reaction to this latest attack by Russian President Vladimir Putin, targeting that Ukrainian capital, killing dozens of people. The big question here today is what can be done by these European allies to support him, as well as whether this will be enough to deter future Russian aggression from Ukraine, as well as the rest of Europe.
Angela Skujins updating us from Copenhagen. Thanks very much. Speaking with TVP World, Ukrainian MP Oleksiy Goncharenko addressed the consequences of the recent Russian strike on Kyiv, emphasizing that it clearly demonstrates Moscow's unwillingness to end the war. He also re-emphasized the urgent need for peace in Ukraine.
I hope so. I hope so that the world will respond on these brutal acts and absolute barbaric attacks. And we hope that there will be more sanctions. But also we hope that Europe will react, because we wait today a lot from the United States, but European countries can do more. And specifically, in the first place, they can seize Russian frozen assets. It's hundreds of billions of euros, first of all in Belgium, but also in other European countries, which are frozen but not seized. If we would have this money today, Ukraine could buy weapons, Europe can buy weapons for us. For this money. This money can be used to help people who are suffering every day in Ukraine from Russian attacks, who lost their apartments and houses and so on. The signal is clear. Russia wants to continue to kill people. Russia wants to continue the war. Russia doesn't want any peace. All of this is a game which they play with President Trump and all this, but reality is deadly attacks, killing of innocent civilian people, including children. This is Russia, and they're not gonna change, and they're not gonna stop themselves. So the only way for us to stop it, that they should be stopped by civilized world.
Germany has ruled out the possibility of direct talks between Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy and Russian President Vladimir Putin. Chancellor Friedrich Merz made the statement during a meeting with French President Emmanuel Macron.
We want to talk about the big questions of our time together, because we have some tasks that we can only solve together. Unfortunately, this includes Russia's ongoing war in Ukraine. We have to deal with this topic again today, and against the backdrop of the fact that there obviously will not be a meeting between President Zelenskyy and President Putin, in contrast to what was agreed between Trump and Putin last week.
Poland has adopted its 2026 draft budget, allocating a record 46.9 billion euros to defence. That brings defence spending to 4.8% of GDP, edging closer to NATO's 5% target.
The draft budget, approved by the cabinet on Thursday, singles out security as the top priority for the country. Viewing the war in neighboring Ukraine as a potential threat to its own security, Poland has significantly ramped up its defense capabilities in the last 3 years. Currently, Warsaw already devotes the highest share of its GDP to defense among all NATO countries, a move that has often earned the country praise from the most vocal advocates for higher military spending, including the US.
In this budget, we plan to spend 200 billion zloty on Poland's security and defense, and that is what it must cost. This 200 billion zloty is not an abstraction, it is an enormous amount of money. In percentage terms, it is one of the highest shares of defense spending in national budgets worldwide. But we know why we are doing it. The grim commentary on our decision was last night in Ukraine. Unfortunately, the war there is gaining momentum. All the illusions of many world leaders that 5 meetings would be enough to end the war show that they do not know Russia, that they do not know Putin. This war is ongoing and will continue. That is why we did not hesitate and will continue to act this way.
Russia is looking to take control of uranium deposits in Niger. In return, Russia is supposedly offering its assistance with building a nuclear power plant in the country. Niger sits on one of the largest uranium deposits and remains the world's leading uranium producer. After a coup d'etat in 2023, the country has been run by a military junta that cut ties with France, expelling French troops and nationalizing the uranium plants. According to a report from French magazine Jeune Afrique, Moscow is interested in seizing uranium production once the French eventually withdraw from Niger. Polish President Karol Nawrocki has seen a 5.5 percentage point drop in public trust, according to the latest poll by the Ibris Research Center. In the previous survey, Nawrocki held the top spot, but has now been overtaken by Foreign Minister and Deputy Prime Minister Radosław Sikorski. Sikorski now has the trust of 41.8% of respondents, while Nawrocki follows closely at 41.3%. The third most trusted politician is Warsaw Mayor Rafał Trzaskowski, Nawrocki's former presidential opponent, with 39.9%. While Nawrocki recorded the steepest decline, both Sikorski and Trzaskowski also saw drops in support. The F-16 fighter jet pilot who crashed into the ground during routine exercises ahead of the 2025 ERAM International Air Show in Poland on Thursday evening has been identified as Major Maciej Krakowian, call sign Slab. He was a part of Poland's F-16 Tiger demo team.
Just a day ahead of the largest air show in Poland, the country was shocked by the news that one of its best fighter pilots died in an accident. Major Maciej Krakowian, call sign Slab. Just last month, TVP World proudly reported on his achievement, winning the best overall flying demonstration at the world's largest military air show in the United Kingdom. A NATO mission veteran, he became the international face of Polish aviation as the leader of the country's award-winning F-16 Tiger demo team, a crew he treated like family.
We often speak in lofty terms about being a family, but that's exactly who we are. The trust between all the members of the team is immense, and we often say that nobody gets on the team by accident.
A native of Kraków, he began his journey at the Polish Air Force University in Dęblin. After flying training aircraft, he was selected for elite F-16 training in the United States, where he not only mastered Poland's most advanced fighter jet, but also qualified as an instructor. Upon returning home, he joined the 31st Tactical Air Base in Poznań-Szczecin, flying NATO air policing missions and earning a reputation as a mentor and role model among fellow pilots.
He was a man who emanated professionalism. He passed on his experience to younger servicemen arriving at the base. He was a loyal colleague, leaving his heart in the squadron. He became the face of our F-16 fleet, of the Polish Air Force and of the Polish Armed Forces.
Fellow fighter pilots speak with great respect about his professionalism and exceptional skill.
The Polish fighter pilot community lost a fine colleague, one of the best pilots, the future of Polish Air Force, and I think we should remember this guy in the best possible way. This guy was purely superb human being.
The Radom Air Show was cancelled following the tragic crash, a day that was meant to be a celebration, a moment of pride and remembrance, as August 28th marks Polish Aviation Day, turned into a time of sorrow.
The Polish Ministry of National Defence has decided to suspend military participation in air shows until further notice after Thursday's F-16 crash in Radom. Following the disaster, some experts and politicians have begun publicly questioning the purpose of air shows. Poland's top military officer, General Wiesław Kukuła, weighed in on the matter on social media. The chief of the General Staff of the Polish Armed Forces admitted that he has doubts regarding the purpose of such air shows. Kukuła also wrote that these air shows were close to the heart of the late pilot, Maciej Krakowian, who valued the opportunity to showcase Poland's military prowess. For the time being, flights involving F-16s are to be suspended, but this will not apply to mission-critical aircraft responsible for protecting Polish borders and airspace. The Ministry of Defence declined to comment on whether the ban will be permanent. Over 30 journalists have been attacked in Serbia over the past 2 months. Violence has come from both government supporters and law enforcement. Reporters Without Borders has documented 34 physical attacks on journalists covering anti-government protests. In one of the most extreme cases, 2 reporters were beaten with metal bars by supporters of the ruling Serbian Progressive Party. The protests began nearly 10 months ago, opposing state capture and corruption. While initially peaceful, they have grown more violent in recent months. Today marks 20 years since one of the deadliest natural disasters in U.S. history. On August 29, 2005, Hurricane Katrina struck the Gulf Coast, claiming more than 1,800 lives. The powerful tropical cyclone caused an estimated $125 billion in damage, hitting the city of New Orleans and its surrounding areas the hardest.
We are dealing with one of the worst natural disasters in our nation's history. This recovery will take a long time. This recovery will take years.
Poland's own legendary striker, Robert Lewandowski, is ready to don national colours once again and carry his own country's hopes into the World Cup qualifiers. Proudly representing his homeland, the Barcelona star is determined to lead Poland to victory as they face a tough away battle against the Netherlands on September 4th. Lewandowski had previously stepped away from leading the national team in June after a dispute with his head coach regarding his replacement as team captain. However, it has been announced that he will resume the captaincy upon his return. At 36 years old, Lewandowski has an impressive record of 85 goals and 158 appearances for Poland, with his involvement being crucial as the team prepares for the upcoming World Cup qualifiers. And on that note, this brings us to the end of Midday Report. Thank you for being with us and stay tuned for more on TVP World. Goodbye.